Hi everyone, it's Lindy on here from Pink Whisper Designs. Today we're going to be creating another card from the brand new Spring 2022 collection from Art Impressions, and we're going to be using this adorable craft bag. This little bag comes with the dies, the coordinating dies as well, and you can see you get all these cute little images to place inside your little bag. So let's go ahead and start our coloring. For the first color, I'm going to be using the pink, and I'm using the Zig Clean Color Real Brush pens to do my coloring, and I'm using the Zig Blender pen to do my blending. Now I went ahead and I stamped these images on some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock, and I used the Versafine Onyx black ink to do my stamping. Now the colors I'm using will be in the upper left hand corner as we go along, and so I've switched to that light gray here. So I'm just going to do some quick coloring on these images, and now I'm going back to that light gray and just putting a little bit of a shadow on this tape. And then I'll come in with the deep blue and color the rest of this tape. And I'm just going to add some shadows here and there, and just kind of blend that into the center here. Now, as part of this series, they also released a little tool bag, which is really great for masculine cards. And I will be doing a video on that fairly soon, so keep an eye out for that one as well. So all of the products I'm using today are listed down below. They're listed and linked down below, and they're also on my blog as well. So I'll quickly finish blending this out. And as I always say, you can use a water brush here to do your blending if you prefer that. I just find that the blender pen works really well in these little tiny images. And now let's go ahead and do the tip of these little paint brushes. I'm going to add a little bit of color to the tips of the brushes just to make them look like they've been dipped in a little bit of paint here. And I'm switching those colors, and I've just added a little bit of the turquoise green. Now I'll use that same color here on these little pencils. And you'll see that when we die cut that little craft bag, we're going to get all kinds of little slits in there, which will allow us to fill that little craft bag with all these little goodies. Now you could put anything in there that you want. So kind of think of different items that you might want to place in this bag. You may have other images that you could tuck inside here, but I do love the images that come with this. So now I'll color in that little ruler. I'm going back to that brick beige. And I'll just add a little color at the top and the bottom and just blend that in. So this is very easy, very quick coloring that we have for these little images. Now I'm switching to that fluorescent pink. Now keep in mind you could stamp several of some of these images if you want a whole bunch of rulers. Just stamp several of those, or the glue or whatever that you want to create, what you want to fill your little craft bag with. And what would also be cute is to create an entire background with these little images and then add your craft bag. And you wouldn't even have to color them in. You could just stamp them, keep the background black and white, and then just color in one image as your focal point with some bright color. There's a lot of possibilities with this little set, I think. And I do have another idea for this little set, so I'm hoping to be able to do another video on that soon. So now let's go back to that turquoise green and do the notebook, and then we'll add a little detail to this notebook later on with a black permanent marker. So we can add some little extra touches to these images just to make them personalized. You could write someone's name on the front of that little notebook. That would be really cute, or put their initial there. So you could really personalize these images as well. Going back to the light gray for those little pages in the book, and a little bit of light gray here on this glue bottle. I'll add some light gray on the markers, and then I'll just grab a variety of those colors and do the lids in all different colors here. Now here's where I came in with a permanent marker, and I just finished off that little area of the scissors there. Now I want to create, I'm using black to create a black little craft bag or a little scrapbooking bag. And I want it to look kind of old and used, just kind of, I don't want to blend out the colors perfectly, but you certainly could, and you don't have to use the black. You could use some really bright, pretty colors. You could do your little bag in pink or yellow, orange, whatever you want. But I kind of wanted to give this crafty bag a little bit of a grungy look. So you'll see that I'm not going to completely blend everything out. I'm going to leave some random shadows here and there just to give it a well-loved look. Because like my own craft bag, I use it all the time. I take it when I'm going crafting with friends. So it's well used and well loved, and I wanted this one to look the same. Now, again, when we cut this out, we're going to cut a little pockets out of all these little areas. It's going to cut slits where we can tuck in all these cute little items. So let me finish coloring this front section in, and then for the inside, I'm going to switch colors. And that's where you could get really creative as well. You could put some, like a little florally pattern inside the bag, or you could do some stripes, whatever you want to do here. So have some fun with this. So again, I'm adding just those random shadows here. And for that little tool bag that I mentioned earlier, that comes with all kinds of little tools, the bag, and again, all the little slots will be cut out so you can tuck all the tools in that little bag, get a wrench and a hammer, a saw, just all kinds of random fun little tools. So that one is really cute as well. And again, great for a guy card because it is kind of hard to come up with some of these masculine cards, and this one is really fun. And I feel like they're very interactive, the way everything just kind of tucks in there. So now I'm going to that brick beige to do the inside of my bag. So, but again, I was kind of going for that well-loved, well-used look for this bag. So I kind of stuck with that theme here. And then back to the turquoise green for all the little tabs here. So here's where I'm coming in with my Pitt artist pen. This is a permanent marker. This is a 0.1 millimeter, and I'm adding some little stitching to that notebook, and then I'm adding some little polka dots to my scissors. So just kind of personalizing these a little bit. Let's go to the largest die from the Rectangle A2 double stitch dies from Art Impressions. And again, I'm going to die cut that from some Strathmore Bristol Smooth cardstock. And we'll also grab the oval from the oval double stitch die set. And we're going to be placing that right in the center of that panel. So let's tape this down with a little bit of purple tape, and we'll run that through the die cutting machine. Now you could certainly run these both through at the same time, but I decided to do the rectangle first, and then I positioned that circle right in the center, and I ran that through a second time. So now we have that pretty stitched border all the way around the oval and the edges of our card panel as well. So I'm going back to that pink marker. I've scribbled a little bit of that color right down onto my glass medium mat. I spritzed it with a little bit of water from my distress sprayer, and I'm spattering this panel. I'll quickly heat set that. And now let's create the card base. This measures 5.5 by 8.5, and I'm scoring it at 4.25. I'll go ahead and fold that in half, and then I'll just press that out with my bone folder. So this will be a standard A2 size card, and that will measure 5.5 by 4.25, which is the same size as that card panel that we created earlier. So now let's go ahead and put a little bit of ink around the edges here. I've got my Hero Arts blending brush, and I've got my Picked Raspberry Distress ink. Now this is just the regular dye ink. This is not the Distress Oxide ink. So we're just going to lightly create a little shadow, and that'll make this stand out a little bit more on our card and bring our eye into the center of this card panel a little bit more. So now that we have that all set, let's go back to that Versafine Onyx Black ink and stamp our sentiment. And that says, beauty is all around you, but you can see you get all these other really cute images. And that's from the watercolor sentiment set. And again, all of these will be listed down below. So I've got a piece of acetate. I want to use that to position this sentiment on a little bit of an arch. So what I'm going to do is cut some little slits here in the stamp, right in between those words, and that'll allow me to just put this on a little bit more of an arch. And then what I'm going to do is press it right down onto that acetate, and that'll just hold it in place for me. Now I can close the lid on my MISTI, and then when I open that up, I can remove that acetate, and my stamp is perfectly placed in that little arch that I need it to be. Now, another way to do this is to cut your stamp. You could just cut those words all separately. That would work just as well. But I did want to keep the stamp all together, so I decided this was the way to go. So I went ahead and stamped that. Now I've got my Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive. I'm going to place plenty of glue on the back of this little oval. And I do want to make sure that glue goes right up to the edges there. So I'm going to position that right down in the center of my card. And I'm using that panel to line this up. And now I can just press that into place. Now let's go ahead and go back to our images. We'll grab the coordinating dies, and we can go ahead, tape these down with some purple tape, and we'll run these through the die cutting machine. So now we can just pop these out. Now I'll show you where all these little openings are. There's a slit here and at the top. There's one right in the front, or actually two of them in the front, and then one inside the bag. So this is really fun. We can kind of tuck in all our little images here. So I'm just going back to that Nuvo Deluxe Adhesive, and we'll just start positioning these in place. Now you can see there I did tuck that down into the bag, so that stitching didn't really end up showing, but that's okay. You can just add some little details here and there, whatever works the best for you. And then I kind of played around with these, moved them around a few times before I glued everything permanently in place. And then once I kind of had everything where I wanted it, I just tucked some glue right in behind there and tacked everything down. We'll also be adding some foam mounting tape, and that'll also help to hold all these images in place. So I'm just tacking them down for now, and then let's just add that little scissors so it looks like it's popping out of that little pocket on the side there. So now here's where I'm going to grab that foam mounting tape, and I'll put plenty of it on the back, and that'll keep all these little images right where they need to be. and it'll also give this a little bit more dimension. So let's set that aside and go ahead and glue this panel down. We're just going to line it up with that oval. Just want to make sure everything looks like it's going to work out here. And now I can just go back to that Nuvo Deluxe adhesive and glue this down. Now I'll remove the backing from that foam mounting tape and we can pop this up right on the front of the card. And now I'm going to add a few little hearts. This is the Sequin mix from Picket Studios, and I'll list that down below for you as well. And I'm just going to grab the little hearts here from this set. And I'm grabbing all the colors that coordinate with the images that I've already colored in. And this little set coordinated perfectly with the colors that I had chosen. So I'll position those in place, and then we can go ahead and glue those down. I'm using my Marvy jewel picker. That'll just make it easier to pick up these little items and glue them down. So I went ahead and glued on all of those, and then I did decide to come back and put a few little hearts right above the bag here. So I grabbed 3 more little hearts and I'm going to glue those down. So again, that just adds a little bit more texture and interest here. So we've got that pretty spattering and then those little hearts. And again, this is just the cutest little image. Your crafty friends would love to get a card with this little image on it. So I really hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please hit the like button and subscribe. And don't forget to hit that notification bell so that you don't miss a single video. Thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Have a great day. Take care. Bye-bye.